Well, I think we're the leading goal scorers, aren't we?
It's funny, we got a dodgy old scoreboard from somewhere at Yeovil, but it only went up to 9, and we played one of these. It was funny, we played one of these games against the local side, one of the non-league sides, and we were 10-0 up at half time, seriously. And I was sitting in the standing director's box, and a fella come sat next to me, and he went, 0-0 against the. Because it went back to 0. And he walked out and never been seen again. So be careful next time.
How will you treat the Brian Jacobs bequest in the accounts for next year? How will that fit into the accounts next year?
Well, it's come in as share capital.
So it's basically it's going into the balance sheet and in the bank account, basically. I see. Okay.
I can't say that's such a huge flip for the football club to have that and to sort out the cash flow in that close season. Absolutely massive for us.
And I think we said at the trust meeting when that vote was made that we would do our very best to ensure that that acted as our overdraft, because there's no banks these days that will let any sporting activity go into overdraft. So it's really important to us, because certainly during the summer our cash flow is particularly difficult to manage. Yes, we have the season ticket income, but we have 3 months of trading, 3 months of people that we've got to pay. So it's going to become particularly important. It's still, just to reassure those in the trust here, it's still sat there. I think we've got about £300,000 in the bank at the moment, so it's still sat there, it's still protected, but I know 100% sure that during the course of the summer that will begin to drift away. But hopefully will be replaced by League 2 season ticket sales.
I mean, the pitch has been an issue, and it is pretty dreadful. And when we think of some of the brilliant pitches we've had in the past up here, will investment be put into the pitch this close season?
Yeah, actually, it's a bit remiss of me because we did have a question that was emailed in, which is how much is the remedial work on the pitch going to cost in May 2016, and how much was saved, inverted commas, by doing less work in 2015. So in terms of what we're doing in May, we're spending about £25,000 on the pitch. So that will be done fairly soon after the final game of the season. We've had to make an allowance for a possible playoff match, so it will kick in straight after that. We have spent a lot of time talking to, John Murphy particularly spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people, different contractors, to make sure we get the best advice. So we're hopeful that what we're going to do will really address some of the longer term issues. Obviously the fact we're playing so many games on the pitch means that things wear out quicker. But I think the main issue has been the weather, combined with all the additional matches. We're also, thanks to investment support from the trust, expending something like £10,000 in a new piece of equipment by part exchanging some existing equipment. We're spending £24,000 onto new equipment to help the groundsman properly maintain the pitch. And the good thing about that piece of equipment is, A, we're getting some cash from equipment we're no longer using, and B, we can hire out this piece of equipment to generate revenue for the club as well. So I think we're doing as much as we can. I think we've also got a new groundsman, and whilst Terry did a brilliant job, and we had many awards under Mike and then Terry, I think the new groundsman comes in with new energy, new impetus, new ideas, and certainly John, he's been brilliant, working with Gary down at the training ground, and Gary up here and John up here. So I think we can look forward with confidence that with this investment in the equipment and the work on the pitch, that it will be much better. And hindsight, I wish Gloucester weren't going to be here next year, but we are where we are with that. This will be the last year, and we are investing in the pitch to make sure that we don't have the mess that we've got here now next season.
But we've got a sophisticated piece of equipment coming in, a very, very now technically competent groundsman, but there's no doubt that the essence is the huge number of games and the bad weather is the combination as to why the pitch has deteriorated, because the tops come off. The tops completely come off, and that's the problem we've got now.
could be prevailing weather.
How much do you expect to increase the playing budget if we do get promoted? Will Gary have a percentage
Can't
more to
possibly
spend?
tell you that. I mean,
He's done so well this year that
Good question.
You would have to increase the playing
it's our priority. Our first team is our priority. We will put as much into that
Can you
first team
use
budget
that
as we
£1 million
can.
for
Sorry?
that sort of purpose?
Absolutely.
When do new contracts begin? June, is it? New players?
Yeah, it's
We'll come back to the
July.
training in July, 1st of July.
July. The boys are paid up until June the 30th, and the new contract starts 1st of July.
I think the thing is, Alec, it's also interesting to bear in mind, I think Paul had a figure, it worked out when we were in League Two. Would you say we were in the top 10 for budgets at that time, if I remember rightly? Was that about right? So I think we were 8th or something along those lines.
We've got a few players involved in the England C team, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pleased for them because I'm sure anyone would like to represent their country. But it comes at a busy period just before we're playing Easter, just with 3 or 4, game every 3 or 4 days. I just wonder what sort of management view is on that.
Not the chairman's view, no.
Sorry.
Not the chairman's view. Well, funny enough, we, as a club, and I've got to be a little bit diplomatic, so you'll have to read between the lines a little bit. But we spoke to the 3 lads today. We spoke ourselves, a couple of directors, myself and Paul, the secretary. It's come at a very unfortunate time for the boys and for us. Yes, we're all honoured that 2 of the lads have been selected and Munsey on standby. But during that week, you're right, that's probably one of the most important weeks of the players' careers, because they're all young lads, and one of the most important weeks of our club's season, if not history, as far as getting back into the league. So those boys will be expected to play 3 games in 6 days, which medically shouldn't happen. But it's down to the boys to decide whether they feel that it's in their interest to go to Kiev.